At 12:07 a.m. October 5, 2025, Ukraine's skies ignited. Over 500 drones and 50 missiles sliced through the night from Lviv to Zaporizhzhia, leaving power grids sparking, neighborhoods vanishing, and sirens screaming across 8 regions. From Crimea to Belgorod, Moscow launched its deadliest strike yet. Hundreds of flying bombs, dozens of missiles, all moving in waves too fast, too low, too precise to track easily. And when the swarm drifted dangerously close to NATO airspace, Poland's jets roared into action, scrambling into the darkness. A shock to the alliance and a warning that this assault could have escalated far beyond Ukraine. The numbers alone tell the story, and yet, this is only the opening act. The full storm? That's still coming. Just after midnight, the Kremlin unleashed its fury. From launch sites hidden across occupied Crimea and Russia's Belgorod region, more than 500 Shahed 136 kamikaze drones, rebranded by Moscow as Gerontos, tore into the night. Each was a 3.5-meter flying bomb, weighing 200 kilograms and carrying up to 50 kilos of explosives, its buzzing 2-stroke engine echoing across the dark sky. These weren't random strikes. They were precision-guised weapons programmed to hug terrain, evade radar, and dive into Ukraine's power grids and civilian centers. The swarm split into multiple waves, some sweeping north along the Dnipro River, others ghosting west over Carpathian foothills, overwhelming Ukraine's air defenses through sheer volume. And the drones weren't alone. Trailing close behind came over 50 missiles. Kalibr cruise missiles launched from the Black Sea, and Kinzhal hypersonic projectiles fired from MiG-31 jets. Streaking at Mach 10, together they created a coordinated multi-vector onslaught, a calculated attempt to cripple Ukraine's energy infrastructure and test NATO's response. In under an hour, the night sky turned into a storm of fire and steel, the largest and most complex air assault of the war on western Ukraine. The first explosions ripped through Lviv shortly before 1 a.m., the ancient city's skyline flashing orange as waves of drones and missiles slammed into their targets. A residential building in Zaporizhzhia was obliterated, killing 4 members of one family in their sleep. Across town, an industrial park burned for hours, power lines snapped like whips, and entire neighborhoods went dark. Officials called it the largest attack of the war on the Lviv region, a night when sirens never stopped and air defenses lit the horizon in streaks of white fire. Further southeast, Zaporizhzhia faced a brutal combination strike, drones followed by missiles, that killed 1 person, wounded 10, and left more than 73,000 residents without power. Flames engulfed energy facilities as rescue crews fought to contain secondary explosion. But the destruction didn't end there. Vinnytsia, Chernihiv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Kherson, Kharkiv, and Odessa all reported damage to civilian and energy infrastructure, spreading Ukraine's defenders thin across the map. As dawn neared, the night sky was still roaring, a deadly chorus of engines, alarms, and the defiant crack of Ukrainian guns fighting to reclaim the silence. What made the assault so relentless wasn't only its size, it was the precision and strategy behind it. The Shahed 136 drones flew dangerously low, skimming 100 to 200 meters above the ground, weaving through valleys and riverbeds to hide beneath radar coverage. Some employed frequency-hopping communication systems, shifting signals thousands of times per second to evade jamming. Even when Ukraine's electronic warfare blinded them, they switched to inertial guidance, continuing toward their targets like mechanical phantoms. Then came the missile barrage, the real hammers of the night. Kalibr cruise missiles, launched from Black Sea warships and submarines, sped low over the landscape at barely 50 meters altitude, each carrying nearly half a ton of explosives and capable of striking within meters of its mark. Above them, Kinzhal hypersonic missiles fired from MiG-31K Foxhounds tore through the stratosphere at Mach 10, too fast for interception, their warheads slamming into Ukraine's infrastructure with devastating precision. Together, drones and missiles formed a layered strike system. Drones to saturate and confuse defenses, missiles to shatter what remained. Their timing was surgical, their intent unmistakable, to cripple Ukraine's energy network and exhaust its defenders. The night ended not in silence, but in fires. blackouts, and resilience, as a nation once again stood firm beneath a storm of steel. Even under the heaviest bombardment of the war, Ukraine's defenders refused to yield. Across the country, air defense crews sprang into action. Patriot batteries guarding the skies near Kiev, NASAMS units covering the west, and Soviet-era Zu-23 guns thundering from rooftops and fields. As hundreds of drones and missiles flooded the night, radar screens flooded with targets, operators shouting coordinates, locking on and firing seconds before the drones disappeared behind the terrain. And against all odds, it worked. By dawn, more than 400 of the 500 drones had been intercepted or destroyed, many exploding mid-air in fiery blossoms caught on phones across the country. Every one of those flashes marked lives saved, a fragile victory snatched from chaos. But the fight was brutal. Low-flying drones skimmed below radar, leaving defenders only heartbeats to respond. Patriot and NASAMS crews had to juggle simultaneous barrages of drones and missiles, conserving interceptors as the swarm came from every direction. Still, Ukraine's air shield held firm. Battered but unbroken, the defenders turned a night meant to cripple their spirit into one that forged their resolve, proving once more that even under relentless assault, the sky over Ukraine is defended, not surrendered. As chaos erupted beyond its border, Poland's military roared to life. When Ukrainian radar picked up drones drifting dangerously close to NATO airspace, Polish and Allied jets were immediately scrambled. F-16C Vipers thundered off the runways at Lask Air Base, joined by RAF Typhoons and US F-35s, streaking into the night. A coordinated surge of power that commanders called a preventive readiness mission. Poland's operational command confirmed that its air defense and radar networks were at maximum alert, with Allied aircraft patrolling the eastern frontier. This wasn't a show of force, it was a warning. NATO's airspace would not be crossed. The urgency was real. Weeks earlier, Russian drones had breached Polish territory, sparking alarm across the alliance. Reports of mystery incursions in Copenhagen and Munich, and even temporary airport closures across Eastern Europe had pushed tensions to the brink. One stray drone, one wrong signal, that's all it would take to ignite something bigger. For Poland and its NATO partners, the mission was clear. Guard the skies, protect the alliance, and keep the war from spilling westward. That night, Europe's eastern edge came alive. Engines howling, missiles primed, and every radar sweep humming with vigilance. When dawn finally broke, the smoke still clung to the horizon, and what it revealed was devastation. In Lviv, rescue teams clawed through the rubble of a shattered home, their gloves blackened with ash. 4 members of one family were gone, their quiet village of Lipivka reduced to dust. In Zaporizhzhia, another life was lost. 10 people injured, and tens of thousands left without power, as transformers lay twisted and burning, the air thick with the smell of scorched metal. The same story unfolded across Ivano-Frankivsk, Chernihiv, Kherson, Kharkiv, and Odessa. Energy facilities crippled, civilians displaced, entire regions plunged into darkness. Ukraine's energy ministry confirmed widespread grid damage, warning that repairs could take weeks as the chill of winter crept closer. Prime Minister Yulia Shvierdenko condemned the bombardment as another deliberate act of terror against civilians, while Moscow claimed it had struck only military and energy targets. But for those on the ground, the truth was heartbreakingly clear. This was a fight not for territory, but for survival itself. As the morning light spread over smoldering ruins, sirens still wailed, generators hummed, and firefighters stood silent, knowing they had endured another night of horror and defiance. By sunrise, the skies had fallen silent, but the message behind the onslaught thundered on. Russia's barrage was more than an assault on infrastructure, it was psychological warfare, aimed at breaking Ukraine's will and testing NATO's resolve. With a fourth wartime winter approaching, Moscow's intent was unmistakable. Freeze Ukraine into submission, cripple its power grid, and see how far the West's patience would stretch. Yet, amid the destruction, Ukraine's spirit refused to yield. The exhausted air defense crews who battled through the night were hailed as heroes. In cities left without electricity, families lit candles instead of surrendering, their quiet defiance shining brighter than the blackout. And in Kiev, President Volodymyr Zelensky vowed to fortify the nation's air defenses, declaring that the night's assault had proven one truth: Ukraine still stands, wounded but unbroken. Across the border, Polish jets returned to base, their mission complete, but their vigilance intact. NATO's eastern flank remained tense and watchful, radar screens alive with the faint echoes of departing engines. The war in the skies has entered a new chapter, one defined by escalation, endurance, and unshakable resolve. The drones may have fallen, but the warning remains. The storm over Eastern Europe is far from over. When morning came, the smoke still hung low, a reminder of how close Europe had come to the brink. Russia's assault wasn't about power plants or targets on a map. It was about pressure, fear, and control. But Ukraine stood tall, its defenders turning the night's terror into proof of resilience. And across the border, NATO stayed ready, watching, waiting, unblinking. The battle in the skies may be over for now, but the silence that follows carries its own warning. The calm before the next storm. And everyone knows it's coming.